Hey everyone, this is Jules. I have a tutorial to share with you guys today. I am doing some invitations for a client of mine, some wedding invitations, and doing some custom envelopes and an RSVP card and things like that for her. And the envelope that I decided to do is a square styled envelope. This one's a triangular styled envelope. This is just what I call them, just because the triangle are when all the points come to the middle. And then, and so the square to me is when there's flaps and tabs. So what I did is I went through a few of these, and just so that I can show you what my process was on how to do this for any size card that you want, whether it be a 4x6 or a 3x5, or in my case, I'm doing a 6.5x5 size wedding invitation for her. And this is the very base bottom part of the card, and I did write on that 6.5x5. So I am making an envelope that's going to be customized to the size of the invitation, and the RSVP card is going to go inside of it. So this is what my envelope looks like with the side tabs. I'm using an 8.5x11 sheet of paper. But because the paper that I'm going to use for the envelopes come in 12x12, or I have them in 12x12, I'm going to cut them down to a size where I'm going to be able to have 1 inch instead of 3/4 inch tabs, side tabs, which is all I can do with an 8.5x11 size paper. But I'll show you how to get to that. I'll show you how to do the template, and then how to just fold your cardstock to get it ready. You want to make sure that with your envelope, you want to create a bottom flap, which is typically larger than a top flap. And then you want to create the sides here, the little tabs that the bottom flap will adhere to, and then that makes your pocket for your card. So you want to do whatever size card that you have. You want to kind of set it on your paper where you think that you're going to start needing to do your folds and your measurements. What I did for this size, because it is a larger size card, let's back it up just a tiny bit. So because it is a large size card, I kind of figured that I might need to use the entire 8.5x11 size sheet of paper. So I kind of set this where I think, okay, I'm visualizing this is the very top part as a top tab, and this is the very bottom tab. And as I kind of eyeballed it where I think that that's the size I'm going to need, as I folded it and then I measured it, I ended up choosing it to be 3.5, and it was somewhere between 3 and 3.5. But I decided to go ahead and just pre-measure it at 3.5. That way I would have my size for the envelope. So when I'm like, okay, so 3.5 is going to be my bottom flap, I'm going to go ahead and just start scoring. Okay, so I'm going to go 3.5 from the bottom. Here's 3.5. So go ahead and score that. And then as I'm doing this and figuring out the size here, because I'm thinking I might have to trim a little bit, but that's about where I want that. And that's kind of a typical envelope anyways, where the bottom flap is larger and you see just a small part of the card on top. So I'm like, okay, is this just enough to cover it? And it would be, because it would leave about a 1/2 inch here on the top flap for your adhesive. So when I folded it and then I measured it, it was at 2.25. Or it was like at 2 inches, but I'm gonna do 2.25 because that's where it can be. That would fit my size card. So now I have top flap and bottom flap for that, and you can kind of see through that. That's about a 1/2 inch right there, that distance, or where the bottom flap or the top flap overlaps on the bottom. You can see, look, it's extra white. All right, so now that leaves the side tabs. So the side tabs, and as I'm going, I am already measuring here. From here to here is 2.25 inches. From here to here is 3.5 inches. Ooh, sorry. And then that leaves an exact measurement of 5.25 5 1/4 for the inside. And then remember, it's a 6.5 by 5 card, so it gives me a 1/4 inch to play with. Actually, it's 1/8 of an inch on each side, and that to me is just fine enough. Okay, so now for the side tabs, it's an 8.5 by 11. I mean, yeah, 8.5 by 11. So 8.5 this way, and I'm thinking, as I'm eyeballing this, that's about an inch difference right there. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of do a quick eyeball measurement, and it is 1 inch. And I am gonna want my tabs to be an inch, but not from an 8.5 sheet of paper. I'm gonna go with a 9 inch when I do my cardstock and do the real deal, because this is I can only go so far with the 8.5 inch flap. So if I was to fold this and score it at 1 inch on each side, it would fit. It would be such a tight fit. And because there's going to be extra on top of my wedding invitation, there's 3 layers of paper. There's cut flowers. You can see some of them in the corner back there. But there's going to be some cut flowers, brads, lace, an RSVP card, and it's going to be tied with a little bit of a burlap string when I slip it in there. So I need to make sure that it is going to be just enough room on the sides where it can expand just a tiny bit, and it'll fit nice and snug in the envelope. There's an inch on each side, but I think I'm just going to go with 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch actually still is a nice size tab. 3/4. Three-quarters there. These are 3/4 inch tabs. So now if I fold these in, this should give just enough space on the sides. I can go a little bit more, maybe another 1/8 of an inch. But again, I don't want to. I want it to have enough space for the thickness that it's going to contain. Okay. So once I have that ready, this is 3/4. This one here is 3/4 of an inch. This is 3/4 of an inch. I think one side is a little wider though. I thought I measured right. Okay. So then once you have your, if it's a smaller card, of course you're gonna have to cut some of it down because it's gonna be too big. So go ahead and do your cutting once you figure out what size you're gonna need and for the envelope. And so what I did is, to get my tabs, you're going to have to cut these 4 corners, that one, and these 2 down here, you're going to have to cut those off. Now I am just going to cut one so that I can show you the rest of and I'll skip through and show you the next step. What I'm going to do is the top or the side flaps will come in this way. So in order to get that nice little classic look, what I did is I measure 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to eyeball this. Well, actually maybe I won't. 1/4 of an inch from the side. 1/4 of an inch there. And then a 1/4 of an inch. So you can eyeball it, or you can measure it out. I did measure it out when I did the first envelope, just so you know. And that's just preference. If you don't mind eyeballing, you can totally eyeball it. It's not going to hurt anything at all. So once you measure out from this end here, the outside part of the flap, measure out your 1/4 of an inch. So what you want to do is just cut from that spot that you marked to the inside corner, and that way it's kind of an A shape when you cut it. So there's that piece there, and that's going to help give it a really nice classic elegant look. And it's not going to get in the way if it's a little too long, or the way that you cut it, it's probably a little too long. It's not going to get in the way there. So also what I wanted to do is to create a the same angled look on these edges like I have on my practice run here. When I did the inside tabs and then I folded it up, it has this angled tapered look there. So it doesn't come all the way straight to the end. It has that nice elegant look to it. You see that? So it looks like more like a Hallmark styled envelope. So it has these little tapered sections. And those are easy to accomplish. They're exactly the same thing as what I did here with flaps. And again, you measure the outside part. I did a 1/2 inch on mine, which is probably around right there. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And if you feel comfortable enough with eyeballing this part, totally up to you. I did use my ruler and make a line from my marking to the corner. You do it however you feel comfortable. So here's your square styled envelope. Put your flaps in. And you can leave these corners, these pointy corners if you want to. That does not change the elegant, to me, it doesn't change the elegant look, but I did use my corner chomper to cut them down. What is a corner chomper? This is a corner chomper. I have these at my store at thejuleboxshop.com. They will do this one will do a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch of a round cut. So I did half, I think it was a 1/2 inch, I believe. So I just stuck it in there and made sure that the point came directly in the very middle of the chomping, where the metals meet. And then I made sure that I cut it so that it was nice and round. Did that to all 4 corners. And that gave me this look here where it had the roundedness here. And it looks really nice because here is the finished product here. I already did her first wedding invitation and it's tied with some burlap string. And here's the RSVP card sitting in there. And just some score tape. I also carry this in my shop. This is the 1/2 inch score tape. I have an 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, full inch, and I think a 3/4 inch. I'm not sure if I have the 3/4 or not. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch for all of the flaps, and then all she has to do is put her address labels on the RSVP cards, peel this up, and then stick it down and throw it in the mail. So that's how you make the envelope. The way that I make it is the rounded edge square styled envelope. Alright you guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day, you guys. Bye.